I'm Brandy Vallance. Welcome to my author chat. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Amber Lynn Perry. Amber is the author of the Daughters of His Kingdom series. Hi, Amber.
Hi, thank you so much. This is a blast. I'm really excited.
Yes, I am so excited to have Amber. Amber is a new friend of mine, and we were Facebook friends, and I saw this beautiful cover, which is so rare a gift, pop up, and I knew that I just had to get to know her better. So that's what this is all about. And actually, the other night, I also had the pleasure of being part of her launch party, and that was such a fun party.
It really was fun. I was so glad to have you there. It was really great. I've been a fan of yours for quite a while. I read your first book and loved it. So I was so glad you could come and be a part of it. It was really great.
What was so great, it's always fun to play at those things and to post the pictures of the dresses that you would pretend to wear. And
yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
And I posted one that was sort of this formal Victorian calling outfit, and I said that I had been making the rounds all day and it was extremely boring because there wasn't a whiff of gossip and not even one handsome duke.
I loved it. It was so fun. I really love, everybody really gets into character, it seems like, you know, people really have a lot of fun doing that kind of thing. I love virtual parties like that. It's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what did you bring to drink to our author chat?
Brought a very exciting canning jar of water.
Nice.
So it is very, but it's been very hot here, and so it's just the most refreshing thing for us. I'm sure it's very hot where you are, though, too, being in Florida.
It's sort of unbearably hot right now in Tampa, and if you can stay in the house, it's much better to do so. But I drink hot tea all the time regardless. Yeah, and that's what I have right here with me in my peacock cup, since I'm a bit of a peacock fanatic. So I'll be drinking.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes, I am. You can't tell, but I think there's like 3 peacocks back there.
Okay. Now that you're pointing it out, I see them. Yes, very cool.
And I'm drinking Celestial Seasonings Bengal Spice Tea this evening, which is a favorite of mine.
Very nice. Oh, that's cool.
Well, I am super excited because Amber writes historical romance, and that is my love to write about. And Amber also has her books set around the Revolutionary time period. And there's a bit of course, Boston is involved. And I have been to Boston, and I was wondering if Amber would tell all of you about her travels to Boston and some of her favorite highlights there.
Well, I've only been twice. I would like to say I've gone, you know, lots of times, but I've only actually really been to Boston once, but I've been to that area twice, Sandwich, where my stories are set. I've been there twice. But the first time I went to Boston, yeah, I was a young whippersnapper. I was 15 and I loved it. I mean, it was just so memorable. The Freedom Trail, seeing all that, you know, going to Concord and Lexington and seeing where all that cool stuff happened anyway. It was very memorable. And then the thing that really stuck out to me is we drove down to Cape Cod. And I remember going through and someone was like, oh, this town is Sandwich. And I remember thinking, this town is called Sandwich, you know? Anyway, it is, and it is absolutely a fabulous place, and it really stuck with me. And so as far as Boston in particular, I just loved all the historical stuff. And I think, you know, we've talked a little bit before how the historical nut, you just geek out over the historical things. You just want to be there. And so I don't know in particular. What did you like particular about it?
Oh, just being in any sort of historical location, and I feel most comfortable in historical houses, and I can just instantly relax, and just the smell of the old wood, and it's just
I love that smell.
Absolutely. So I'm a total museum fanatic, as I'm sure you are as well. And my son, one time I was dragging him around to I think it was a manuscript museum, and he came up to me, and he said, "Mom, let me tell you how you visit a museum. You walk up to the case, you look at the artifact, and then you walk away."
That's so funny. Yeah. I love it. You were probably just like really taking your time, and you're like, let's go.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm typically the person who I'm there when it's closing time and they have to shoo me out. So totally kindred spirits here with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so since your books take place in the Revolutionary time period, I was wondering what in particular calls to you about the founding of our nation and our forefathers?
Oh gosh. I there's a lot of things that intrigue me and that call to me and that really just inspire me. Um, I have a lot of ancestors that fought in the revolution on both sides, and I don't know if it's in my blood. I don't know what it is, but I just am so drawn to it. I love the fact that we're up against something so supremely difficult. You know, there were only 3% of the population that fought in the revolution. And so much of that 3%, much of the time, were unable to fight, you know, or, you know, so often there was like only when the British had 10,000 people or something, you know, their drive, they believed in, for their understanding is so important. You know, they understood that freedom of religion was so important. It still is. Their freedom to have that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They wanted it, you know, and you know they were not afraid, even though England was the most powerful, you know, empire time, and they just went forward anyway. I don't know. Does that answer that? Is that rambling like crazy?
Totally does. And I just love their courage and I love all the stories and they're just so rich and deep. And so I can
Yeah.
definitely see the appeal there. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about your hero and heroine of So Rare a Gift, your
Okay.
heroine's name, and tell us a little bit about her.
Okay. Anna Roan. She starts off Anna Roan, and she is in England, and she needs to get away from England. I don't want to give like too much away, but she is someone who's had a difficult time of it, someone who hasn't been able to make her own decisions for her life, and she's deciding that, you know what, I'm gonna make my own future. I'm gonna do what I know is right for me. And for her, this is a scary, dangerous thing, but she, you know, she has the courage to go forward and to chase that dream for herself, even though it's frightening for her. She's very courageous. She's very determined. She isn't going to give up. I really like her a lot. As you know, when you write and you create different heroines, you like them for different reasons. But she's incredibly brave, and she's also very real. She expresses when she's upset. She expresses when she knows she's done something wrong, and she's gonna do better. And I don't know, I really appreciate it. It was fun to write her. I think you probably feel that too. I was like, oh man, I want to be more like her.
Absolutely. And I just started reading Amber's latest novel, and I was completely intrigued with how she set up Anna and her hardships and what she had gone through, and you're instantly just hooked into the story. So I can't wait to see as the
Thank you.
chapters progress. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Henry.
Okay, Henry's really a lot of fun, and he was somebody who, well, he's been in all 3 books. His character evolves a lot through the series. You see him at the beginning. He's a British soldier, and he's very about following the rules and, you know, duty and this kind of thing. And as he goes along, he's starting to realize, you know, I don't really agree. Some of them to help, you know, some of these people who are just good people trying to live their lives. And so it ends up getting him into some trouble. And in this book, he decides he can't do this anymore. So he defects. He leaves the army, and of course that is not a good thing when you're in the army. They look down on that, and so he is kind of running for his life. And he too is very courageous. He knows that, shoot, if I leave, you know, my allegiance, or if I change my allegiance, that's very dangerous for me, and he does it anyway. So he Henry and Anna kind of have that in common, that they're searching, they're going for something that they believe in despite the dangers, and so in that way, it's kind of similar for them. And I think that's sort of a little bit where their basis for the relationship began a little bit, even though there's some secrets they're not willing to share everything at the beginning. So anyway, I don't know if that helps, but I like him a lot. He's been a lot of fun to write.
Yeah, it's amazing how real the characters become. Mhm. Do you have a favorite scene in your latest book?
I don't know. It's hard to say because there's scenes that I like, romantic scenes, you know, that are fun to write, that are just kind of stand out. But also then there's the little things, you know, that kind of show the character in a subtle sort of way. There's a scene where they're first together, their first night together, married, and they're feeling a little uncomfortable, and he's already in bed and she doesn't want to bother him, but she's in her stays and they're so uncomfortable, and he has to kind of help her, you know, untie them. She can't untie them herself, and so this romantic tension sort of building there, and that's real. I like that scene. Nothing major happens. It's not like a poignant scene as far as, you know, or whatever, but I like that one. Scene where he's coming back from a difficult night. They're smuggling, you know, that's a big part of my story. Smuggling happened a lot in the Revolutionary era, and you know, he's tense, he's thinking about, you know, big issues, and yet he looks down and he sees a bunch of flowers, and then he thinks of her, and he wants to bring those to her. And I like that because for me it kind of shows how, yeah, he's this big tough guy and he's a lot going on, but he's still thinking about her and he's caring about her and what he can do to brighten her day or whatever. I don't know. So little things.
I absolutely love that, and I cannot wait to read those scenes. That is right up my alley. That sounds fantastic.
Okay, fun.
And
I'm excited to hear, like.
Yes, and I love the way your face lit up as you were talking about them.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, like you said, they become real. I feel like they're my friends. I know it's weird, writers, you know, like we talk to fake people, we imagine people, but they do become real to you in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, it's not weird to us, but it may be weird to readers. So I completely get what you're talking about, and we don't stop thinking about them when the books are published. I mean, I still think about Paul and Bianca from The Cover Deep all the time, and I think about Faye and Alistair, and you're always just sort of running, you know, what their life is like now, and just all these little details and different things. So, well, let's talk a little bit about how we get into character. What do you do to get into character, and what is the weirdest thing you have ever done to get into character?
Oh gosh, what have I done? Well, what's helped me is, and we talked about this a little bit, but being that I have sort of a theater background and just some of my theater training has helped me. So when I write, I probably just usually write on my bed in my pajamas. So it's not like, you know, anything exciting, but I get mentally, you know, into them. I try and become them as much as I can, really, as I'm writing, so that I can put into the story that person would be feeling around them in the environment, you know, what their clothes are feeling like on them, what it smells like, how they feel, their history. I always try and do a character interview. I know a lot of authors do this, and it's been very helpful, so that I know them for from when they were kids. Like, I understand what their background is, and so then what their reaction to a certain situation or anything would be based on their history, like we all do in real life. So crazy stuff, though. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Have I done anything super crazy? No, I don't think I've done anything super crazy, but I do dress up in colonial clothes as often as I need to, like especially for my covers and stuff like that. And that actually has been super helpful, because putting on those stays, I know how they would feel. And I know, you know, having looked and studied different things and I don't know, just how they lived. So I haven't done anything really awesome or cool, but it's been fun.
Well, absolutely. And I totally agree with you about the clothes. When you put on a Victorian corset, you're automatically transformed into a different, posture and just way of thinking and everything. So the clothes make a big difference in historical clothing and how people would act, and even little gestures and things like that. And I'm very much about the five senses. So I'm always listening to different kinds of music, and if I'm writing, overseas things, when I was writing The Cover Deep, I would listen to a lot of different Arabic cultural things and Hebrew things and things like that. So I love immersing myself in the music and the smells.
I do that. That's great.
Yeah, Paul smelled like sandalwood. So I always had a sandalwood candle in my office, or a cologne or something. And I would just smell it for a while, during certain scenes and all of that.
That's a good thing to do. I do that too. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my character smells like, my heroine smells like lavender. So I've had lavender, and I don't know, it's fun.
Absolutely, yeah. I always try to eat the food I'm talking about. And so that's one of the fun parts of being a writer, I think.
I love it.
Yeah, just being able to experience all those different times and people and places and worlds. Well,
exactly.
Yeah, let's move on. We had some questions from Facebook when I put out a query about what I should ask you. And the first one came from Megan Gorecki, and she wanted to know, being married with 2 daughters, how do you juggle it all, Miss Amber?
A lot of writers do this. I feel like, you would probably, I'd love to ask you the same thing, because I know so many of us writers have kids at home, and so many of us homeschool, and, gosh, mostly I write at night, because I try and put my family first as much as I can, as far as, doing the school. It's my school area back here. And my kids like to stay up late. I'd like to have nice little children that at 8:30 they're asleep in their bed and it's nice and quiet. I like that. But yeah, at 8:30 usually I'm like, okay guys, Mom, I've been with you all day. I love you, Mom. I'm going to my other world now, and then write a little bit. So that's usually how it goes. I mean, during the day, often though, and I don't know if this happens to you, it probably does. I'll be like, oh, idea, must write this down right now. Where's some paper, because I know I'll forget it, by the time it comes down to write. So even though my actual writing only happens at night, I try and keep a notebook by me all the time or something, because I really put it down. But my house is often very messy, and my family's very patient with me about that. They're very good and very supportive, but it's a juggle. It's definitely a juggling act.
I can relate to all of those things. We're a house full of night owls, so then it seems like we're just sort of waking up and getting ready to go about 6 p.m. So
yeah, right.
That's how we are. And I used to write all the time at night, but now it just seems like I'm writing whenever I can. And it's just, I just squeeze it in whenever I can. And typically during the school year, I'll write during when the kids are at school, but then maybe the house kind of goes to pot because of that. So it is definitely a juggling act with no easy answers. But being an artist is not easy, but it's worth it. And I definitely love being a writer.
Yeah, me too. It really is wonderful.
So the second question that we had, you sort of almost answered. Earlier, Julie Baldridge was wondering why Sandwich and the Revolution, and how much in-person research have you done? So was it just that part of the country had just captured your imagination so when you had visited it?
I have always been a crazy history nerd ever since I was a kid. I don't know. I just have always loved it. And when I was young, I don't know what it was about the Revolution that just caught me. I remember actually when I was about 12 or 13, I started writing a version of So Fair a Lady. back when I was 13, I was like, oh, I just loved Boston. I was like, what if I had this girl and there was a British soldier and then there was a, you know, a patriot guy and there was kind of a love triangle, you know, and I was just story, and then I forgot it for like 20 years, you know, and then I went, oh yeah, that was really fun, and then kind of brought it back. So I've always loved it, but it wasn't until I took that trip when I was 15 down to Cape Cod. This is such a neat place that it just kind of made sense to me because so often people write about Boston because it is amazing and so much happened there and it's really exciting. But I thought, you know, how cool to bring it into this other place that not as many people might know about its history. And then I was able to go back a couple of years ago to do in-person research there. And it was great because I went off season. It was in May. So it was like right before, you know, all the tourists and everybody come. So I called beforehand and I asked him if I could get a personal tour for some of the historic sites there in Sandwich and see what it was like. And so I did, and it was just awesome.
That is so fantastic. And I absolutely love doing those sort of things. When I went to England, Scotland, and Wales, I was in the greatest sort of bliss. And of course, I was born out of my travels to Scotland and everything that I saw there, and just the sounds and the sights and the textures and everything and the amazing history. So I'm sure you have.
And it really does make a difference when you go to a place. And not everybody comes, I thought, oh, cool to write a story about some far off land where I'll never be able to go there, you know. But when you can go to a place and experience it firsthand, it does make a difference, and it helps in getting in character like we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm. Well, something that I found out about you a little while ago, and you actually mentioned in this conversation, was that you were the model on your covers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you have some really big book news that I would like for you to share with my YouTube audience.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
About
your book news after these books. Something's coming up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I think I know what you're talking about.
What is it? Yeah. What's going on?
Book news. Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so I am the model on my covers. It's so much fun. I love to do it, but I didn't want to share my face. I know everybody has an opinion about if they want a face on a cover or not, but I didn't want to show mine because I didn't want it to be obvious that it was, you know, me. But I love dressing up. I never grew up, you know, and so that was kind of fun. Also, it allowed me to get my own art exactly the way I wanted for my cover without spending lots and lots of money. So it was also me trying to save money in a way too. But yes, I have 2 more books coming out, which I'm very excited. And so it'll be 5 books in the series. The next 2, book number 4 will be So Pure a Heart, and book number 5 will be So Bright a Hope. I think that's the big news you were talking about.
Yes, that's your big news. That's so exciting. And
yeah, I wasn't going to do it. It was going to be 3. And then so many readers were so supportive and excited. They were like, please more. I thought, oh yeah, totally. I can do this. You know, I didn't want to, I wanted to see if the reception was going to be good and how people were enjoying it before I decided to jump onto more.
Well, I am so excited about that. And our last question came from, let's see. This was Nina actually on Twitter, and she wanted to know are you going to pose for these new books as well? Are those covers going to have, you as well?
Yes, I will. I have my next cover shoot in a couple weekends, and I've got all my special hat, specially made by hand, just the way they would have done it back in the day. And so I'm very excited about this hat. And what else was I going to say? I'm hoping this time around, since readers have been so kind of supportive and excited about the fact that I do this, to video the process, getting in costume, going out, doing the shoot, and kind of so they can watch and see how things go. When the time comes to reveal.
That would be so much fun, and I love dressing up too. So,
I know.
Yeah, so are you allowed to let it slip on what color your dress is for the next cover shoots?
Yeah, well, it's a pattern, and I always want to make sure I'm as accurate as possible. So I got it from Colonial Williamsburg, just like I did with my first cover. I got that bodice, that top from Williamsburg. So I got another one, and it's more subtle. It's off-white. It has a little floral print on it. So, and then my hat is pink. About that. So that's the next one. I don't know about book 5 yet, but I'm very excited to start shopping. So we'll see.
I've been to Colonial Williamsburg as well, and I remember there was an actor there dressed up, and he was a handsome guy, and I was blushing so much because a handsome guy in a historical costume.
I know. Oh my gosh, I was there a couple years ago with my daughter, and it was like out of a movie. This guy's riding on a horse down the street, and his coat is, going. He's got his hat, and she was like, and you feel that way. It's so fun. There's this romance about it. I don't know. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, I cannot wait to dive into all of Amber's books, and I hope that you all will check her out on her website and on Facebook and keep track of all the adventures and all the romances that she has yet to write. Amber, it's been a pleasure having you on my YouTube channel.
Much. It's been a blast. Thank you, Brandy, so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay, you too.